to Warhammer 40k 8th edition Battle Report 47, 1500 points, Space Wolves vs. World Eaters. This is the big rulebook, Maelstrom of War mission, Tactical Escalation, and we will be rolling for a random map deployment today. Let's begin by taking a quick look around the board at where each of the objective markers have been placed. Beginning in this 2 foot by 2 foot section, objective marker 5 has been placed right here next to this crater. In this middle 2 foot by 2 foot section, objective marker 6 has been placed down here next to this crater. In this third 2 foot by 2 foot section, objective marker 2 has been placed up here next to this crater. On the other side of the board, in this 2 foot by 2 foot section, objective marker 3 has been placed right here next to this ruin. In this middle 2 foot by 2 foot section, objective marker 1 has been placed up here next to this crater. And finally, in this 2 foot by 2 foot section, objective marker 4 has been placed right here next to this crater. And so now we will be rolling for the random map deployment. And here's the roll. Rolling a 2, which is Dawn of War. And so on a roll of a 1, 2, or 3, the Space Wolves will begin to deploy at the top of the board, and the World Eaters will deploy along the bottom. And on a 4, 5, or 6, it'll be the opposite. So Space Wolves deploying along the bottom, and the World Eaters deploying along the top. And here's the roll. Rolling a 1. So the Space Wolves will begin to deploy along the top of the board, and the World Eaters will deploy along the bottom. Now on a roll of a 1, 2, or a 3, the Space Wolves will begin to deploy first, and on a 4, 5, or 6, the World Eaters will begin to deploy first. Rolling a 3, and so the Space Wolves will begin to deploy first. We will be back after the deployment. The deployment is now finished. The Space Wolves began to deploy first, and they also finished deploying first, which means that they will go first, unless the World Eaters are able to successfully seize the initiative. Let's take a quick look around the board at where each army placed all of their units. Beginning with the World Eaters deployment, going from left to right from their own perspective, we have the first squad of 10 Chaos Cultists sitting on objective marker 5, the second squad of 10 Chaos Cultists sitting on objective marker 6, the Chaos Land Raider, which has the squad of 3 Mutilators and Karn the Betrayer embarked inside, the Warlord Demon Prince of Khorne with wings, Horn Lord of Skulls, and finally the third squad of 10 Chaos Cultists. Moving over to the Space Wolves deployment, also going from left to right from their own perspective, we have the first squad of 5 Intercessors sitting on objective marker 3, Repulsor number 1, which has a squad of 3 Aggressors and a Primaris Wolf Priest embarked inside, Repulsor number 2, which also has a squad of 3 Aggressors and a Primaris Wolf Priest embarked inside, the Warlord Wolfguard Battle Leader, the squad of Grey Hunters, and finally the second squad of 5 Intercessors sitting on objective marker 4. For this battle report, the Space Wolves will have 8 command points available, and the World Eaters will also have 8 command points available. And for a full overview of both armies with all of the war gear that they are bringing, please check out the pregame show, which was released at the beginning of the group. A link for the pregame show will be in the description down below. And because this is the big rulebook, Maelstrom of War mission, Tactical Escalation, both armies have to select a tactical objective type or tactical priority, and both sides will select the Annihilation tactical objective type for their tactical priority. And so now the World Eaters will attempt to seize the initiative on a 6, and they fail by rolling a 1. And so let's begin by going into Space Wolves, turn 1. Going into Space Wolves, turn 1, a reminder that the Space Wolves have 8 command points available, and the World Eaters also have 8 command points available. At the beginning of the turn, the Space Wolves drew 1 new tactical objective card, and they drew Defend Objective 3. Score 2 victory points if you control Objective Marker 3 at the end of 2 consecutive turns. And Objective Marker 3 is this one right here, next to a squad of 5 Intercessors. And so going into the movement phase, we will begin by having this squad of Intercessors remain still except for the Intercessor Pack Leader, who will move down onto the ground in order to hold Objective Marker 3. This repulsor, the one that's slightly further away, will move up to 10 inches. Now the other repulsor will move up to 10 inches. The Warlord Wolfguard Battle Leader will remain still. This squad of Grey Hunters will remain still except for the Grey Hunter Pack Leader, who is down here, who will move a couple of inches to also get into the ruin. Finally, this squad of 5 intercessors will remain still. This repulsor will fire its 2 Iron Hail Heavy Stubbers into this squad of 10 Chaos Cultists, and it will fire its last Talon and twin last cannon into this Chaos Land Raider. There are no enemy targets within 18 inches, so the Crack Storm Grenade Launchers and Frag Storm Grenade Launchers will not be able to fire. Beginning with the 2 Iron Hail Heavy Stubbers. 6 shots total, hitting on 3s, getting 4 hits. Strength 4 versus Toughness 3 means wounding on 3s, rerolling 1s, thanks to the Wolfguard Battle Leader, getting 2 wounds and 2 rerolls. And here's the rerolls. Still failing to get any more wounds, so only 2 wounds total. Minus 1 AP, but plus 1 thanks to the crater, so 2 6-up armor saves. And passing 1, failing the other. So 1 Chaos Cultist will go down, leaving 9 left alive in the squad. Now for the last Talon and twin last cannon into the Chaos Land Raider, which will be fired together. 4 shots total, hitting on 3s, getting 3 hits. Strength 9 versus Toughness 8 means wounding on 3s, rerolling 1s, getting 3 wounds. Minus 3 AP, so 3 5-up armor saves. Passing 2 and failing 1, and the World Eaters will use 1 command point going from 8 down to 7 for a command reroll to reroll the 4. And here's the reroll, rolling a 1 so it will still fail the armor save. And this will do D6 damage, and it will do 2 damage. So the Space Wolves will use 1 command point going from 8 down to 7 for a command reroll to reroll the 2. And here's the reroll, still rolling a 2, so only 2 damage. So the Chaos Land Raider will fall from 16 starting wounds down to 14. This repulsor will do the exact same thing against the exact same targets. So 2 Iron Hail Heavy Stubbers into this squad of 9 Chaos Cultists, and the last Talon and twin last cannon will fire into the Chaos Land Raider. The Crack Storm Grenade Launchers and Frag Storm Grenade Launchers are not within range of any enemy units. Beginning with the 2 Iron Hail Heavy Stubbers into the Cultists, 6 shots total, hitting on 3s. And that is a terrible hit roll, getting 3 hits. Strength 4 versus Toughness 3 means wounding on 3s. Rerolling 1s, getting 2 wounds. Minus 1 AP, but plus 1 thanks to the crater, so 2 6-up armor saves, and failing both. So 2 more cultists will go down, leaving 7 left alive in the squad. Now for the last Talon and twin last cannon into the Chaos Land Raider, 4 shots total, hitting on 3s. And that is absolutely awful, getting 1 hit. Strength 9 versus Toughness 8 means wounding on a 3, rerolling 1s, and it wounds. Minus 3 AP, so 1 5-up armor save, which fails, and it will do D6 damage, and it will do 4 damage. So the Chaos Land Raider will fall from 14 wounds down to 10. This squad of 5 intercessors will shoot their Stalker Bolt rifles into this squad of 10 Chaos Cultists. First, the shot from the pack leader who moved, so 1 shot hitting on a 4, which will hit, and then 4 shots from the regular intercessors who stayed still, hitting on 3s. And all 4 miss. So only the 1 hit total from the pack leader. Strength 4 versus Toughness 3 means wounding on a 3. Fails to wound anyways. This squad of 5 intercessors will fire their Stalker Bolt rifles into this squad of 7 Chaos Cultists. 5 shots, hitting on 3s, getting 4 hits. Strength 4 versus Toughness 3 means wounding on 3s, getting 3 wounds, and they are minus 2 AP, so even though the cultists have plus 1 from the crater, they will not have an armor save. So 3 more cultists will go down, leaving 4 left alive in the squad. The Warlord Wolfguard Battle Leader is not within 24 inches of any enemy unit, so he will not be able to fire. And finally, none of the Grey Hunters are within 24 inches, so the only weapon that will be able to fire from this squad will be the Cyclone Missile Launcher, which will fire 2 frag missiles into this squad of cultists. 2 D3 shots, getting 3 shots, hitting on 3s, getting 1 hit. Strength 4 versus Toughness 3 means wounding on a 3, rerolling 1s, getting 1 wound. No AP, but plus 1 thanks to the crater, so 1 5-up armor save, which fails. And so 1 more cultist will go down, leaving 3 left alive in the squad. Going into the assault phase, there are no charges to declare, which means going into the fight phase, there are no fights to resolve. But going into the morale phase, this squad of Chaos Cultists lost 7 models this turn, and the Cultist Champion only has a leadership of 6. And so the World Eaters will use the stratagem Insane Bravery for 2 command points, bring them from 7 down to 5. You can automatically pass a single morale test. This stratagem must be used before taking the test. So the squad of cultists will not have to worry about automatically failing their morale test and potentially losing the rest of the squad. And so taking a look at the tactical objective cards, the Space Wolves are now 1 turn into defending objective 3, and therefore they will hold on to it. And so at the end of Space Wolves turn 1, the score currently sits at 0 victory points for the Space Wolves and 0 victory points for the World Eaters. Going into World Eaters turn 1, a reminder that the World Eaters have 5 command points available, and the Space Wolves have 7 command points available. At the beginning of the turn, the World Eaters drew 1 new tactical objective card, and they drew Defend Objective 5. Score 2 victory points if you control Objective Marker 5 at the end of 2 consecutive turns. And Objective Marker 5 is this one right here, currently being controlled by this squad of 10 Chaos Cultists. And so going into the movement phase, this squad of 10 Chaos Cultists will remain still. This squad of 3 Chaos Cultists will also remain still. This squad of 10 Chaos Cultists will move up to 6 inches, and they will also declare an advance. And here's the advance roll. Rolling 6 additional inches. So this squad of 10 Chaos Cultists will move up to 12 inches. The Khorne Lord of Skulls will move up to 10 inches. The Chaos Land Raider will also move up to 10 inches. The Warlord Demon Prince of Khorne with wings will move up to 12 inches, and he will also declare an advance. And here's the advance roll, rolling 6 additional inches. So the Warlord Demon Prince of Khorne with wings will move up to 18 inches. Going into the shooting phase, the Chaos Land Raider will begin by firing its twin heavy bolter into this squad of 5 intercessors, and it will fire its 2 twin last cannons and the Melta-gun portion of its combi Melta into this repulsor because it is just within 12 inches. Beginning with the twin heavy bolter into the squad of intercessors, 6 shots total, hitting on 3s, rerolling 1s thanks to the Demon Prince, getting 4 hits and 2 rerolls. And here's the rerolls, getting all 6 hits. Strength 5 versus Toughness 4 means wounding on 3s, getting 5 wounds. Unfortunately for the intercessors, in the rulebook it states that the unit has to be within a ruin in order to receive the benefit of cover, and so because the pack leader is down on the ground floor and not in the ruin, the unit will not receive the benefit of cover. So we will begin by placing wounds onto the pack leader, and if he is killed off, then the rest of the intercessors will get cover. And the twin heavy bolter has a -1 AP, so with 5 strikes left, the first 2 will go on to the pack leader, who has a 4-up armor save, passing 1, failing 1. So 3 strikes left, and doing them 1 at a time. 1 4-up armor save, which fails, so the intercessor pack leader will go down, leaving 4 models left alive in the squad. And now with just 2 strikes left, both can go on to the intercessors, which are all now in a ruin, so 2 3-up armor saves, and passing both. Now for the Melta-gun into the repulsor, 1 shot hitting on a 3, rerolling 1s thanks to the Demon Prince, and rolling a 2, so the World Eaters will use 1 command point, going from 5 down to 4, for a command reroll to reroll the 2. And here's the reroll, and rolling a 1, so it will fail. Now for the 2 twin last cannons, 4 shots total, hitting on 3s, rerolling 1s, and that is a horrible roll. That's just as bad as the Space Wolves in their first turn, getting only 1 hit and no rerolls. What is up with the dice today? Strength 9 versus Toughness 8 means wounding on a 3, and it fails to wound. The Khorne Lord of Skulls was going to fire at a repulsor, but now, instead, it's going to fire everything that it has into this squad of 4 intercessors. And the World Eaters will use the stratagem Demon Forge for 1 command point, bring them from 4 down to 3. Use this stratagem in your shooting or fight phase. When a Chaos Space Marines demon vehicle is chosen to attack, you can reroll failed hit and wound rolls for that model until the end of the phase. So beginning with the Ichor Cannon, D6 shots, getting 2 shots. Hitting on 3s, rerolling, getting a hit and a reroll. And here's the reroll, getting 2 hits. Strength 7 versus Toughness 4 means wounding on 3s, rerolling, getting 2 wounds. -4 AP, but +1 thanks to the ruin, so 2 6-up armor saves. Passing 1 and failing 1. So it will do D3 damage, and it will only do 1 damage. So 1 intercessor will fall from 2 starting wounds, down to 1 left. Now for the Skull Hurler, D6 shots, getting 5 shots. Hitting on 3s, rerolling, getting 2 hits and 3 rerolls. And here's the rerolls, only getting one more hit for 3 hits total. Strength 9 versus Toughness 4 means wounding 2s rerolling, getting all 3 wounds. Minus 3 AP, but plus 1 thanks to the ruin, so 3 5-up armor saves, failing all 3. And they are D3 damage apiece, but the first one will simply remove the wounded model, but just to see what it would have done, it would have done D3 damage, would have only done 1, so the wounded intercessor will lose its last wound and be killed off, leaving 3 models left alive in the squad. Strike number 2 will do D3 damage, and it will do 3 damage, so 1 more intercessor will fully go down, leaving 2 left alive in the squad, and the third strike will do D3 damage, and it will do just 1. So a final intercessor will fall from 2 starting wounds, down to 1 left. The Warlord Demon Prince Corn with Wings will fire his Wart Bolter into this squad of 5 intercessors. 2 shots hitting on 3s rerolling 1s, thanks to advancing, and firing an assault weapon, getting 2 hits. Strength 4 versus Toughness 4 means wounding on 4s, and failing to wound. Going into the assault phase, there are no charges to declare, which means going into the fight phase, there are no fights to resolve. And going into the morale phase, this squad of intercessors lost 3 models this turn, and regular intercessors only have a leadership of 7. And so they will pass on a 1 through 4 and fail on a 5 or a 6. And here's the morale check roll. They roll a 1, so they pass and nothing happens. And so taking a look at the tactical objective cards, the World Eaters are now 1 turn into defending objective 5. And so they will hold on to it. And so at the end of World Eaters turn 1, the score currently sits at 0 victory points for the World Eaters and 0 victory points for the Space Wolves. Going into Space Wolves turn 2, a reminder that the Space Wolves have 7 command points available, and the World Eaters have 3 command points available. At the beginning of the turn, a reminder that the Space Wolves are holding on to the tactical objective card, Defend Objective 3, and they are 1 turn into completing this tactical objective card. And so they also drew Secure Objective 6, score 1 victory point if you control Objective Marker 6 at the end of your turn. And Objective Marker 6 is this one right here, currently being controlled by a squad of 3 Chaos Cultists. Going into the movement phase, the fully healthy intercessor will remain still, while the wounded intercessor will move down onto the ground. This squad of 5 intercessors sitting on Objective Marker 4 will remain still. This squad of Grey Hunters will also remain still. The Primaris Wolf Priest and the squad of 3 aggressors will disembark from this repulsor. The Primaris Wolf Priest will move up to 6 inches. The squad of 3 aggressors will move up to 5 inches. The Primaris Wolf Priest and the squad of 3 aggressors from this repulsor will also disembark out in front. The Primaris Wolf Priest will move up to 6 inches. The squad of 3 aggressors will move up to 5 inches. This repulsor will move up to 10 inches. The second repulsor will move up to 10 inches. Finally, the Warlord Wolfguard Battle Leader will move up to 6 inches, and he will also declare an advance. And here's the advance roll, rolling 1 additional inch. So the Space Wolves will use 1 command point going from 7 down to 6 for a command reroll to reroll the 1. And here's the reroll, now getting a 2. So the Warlord Wolfguard Battle Leader will move up to 8 inches. Going into the shooting phase, we will begin with this repulsor, which will fire its 2 Iron Hail Heavy Stubbers into this squad of 3 Chaos Cultists, and it will fire its Last Talon, Twin Last Cannon, Crack Storm Grenade Launcher, and Frag Storm Grenade Launcher into the wounded Chaos Land Raider. Beginning with the 2 Iron Hail Heavy Stubbers, 6 shots total, hitting on 3s, getting 5 hits. Strength 4 versus Toughness 3 means wounding on 3s, rerolling 1s, thanks to being within 6 inches of the Warlord Wolfguard Battle Leader, getting 4 wounds and 1 reroll. And here's the reroll, getting a 5th wound. Minus 1 AP, but plus 1 thanks to the crater, so 5 6-up armor saves, and failing all 5. And so the final 3 Chaos Cultists from this squad will be wiped out, and that is First Blood. Now for all of the various weaponry firing into the Chaos Land Raider, beginning with the Last Talon and Twin Last Cannon together, 4 shots total, hitting on 3s, getting 3 hits. Strength 9 versus Toughness 8 means wounding on 3s, rerolling 1s, and getting 3 wounds. Minus 3 AP, so 3 5-up armor saves, passing 1 and failing 2. And the World Eaters will use 1 command point going from 3 down to 2, For a command reroll to reroll the 4. And here's the reroll, and it still fails the armor save. So 2 will go through. And they are d6 damage apiece, and that is 7 damage. So the Chaos Land Raider will fall from 10 wounds down to 3 left. 2 Crackstorm grenade launchers with 1 shot apiece for 2 shots total, hitting on 3s, getting 1 hit. Strength 6 versus Toughness 8 means wounding on a 5, rerolling 1s, getting a wound. Minus 1 AP, so 1 3-up armor save, which fails, and this will do d3 damage. And it will do 1 damage. So the Chaos Land Raider will fall from 3 wounds down to 2. Finally, 5 Fragstorm grenade launchers with d6 shots apiece for 5 d6 shots total, getting 14 shots, hitting on 3s, getting 10 hits. Strength 4 versus Toughness 8 means wounding on 6s, rerolling 1s, getting 2 wounds and 2 rerolls. And here's the rerolls. Getting 1 additional wound for 3 wounds total. No AP, so 3 2-up armor saves, passing all 3. This Primaris Wolf Priest will throw a crack grenade into the Chaos Land Raider. 1 shot hitting on a 3, and it hits. Strength 6 versus Toughness 8 means wounding on a 5, and it fails to wound. The squad of Grey Hunters will fire 4 bolt guns at full range, 1 Storm Bolter at full range, and a Cyclone Missile Launcher into the wounded Chaos Land Raider. Beginning with the Cyclone Missile Launcher firing 2 crack missiles, hitting on 3s, getting 2 hits. Strength 8 versus Toughness 8 means wounding on 4s, rerolling 1s, thanks to the Warlord Wolfguard Battle Leader and getting 2 wounds. Minus 2 AP, so 2 4-up armor saves, and failing both. And the World Eaters have already used a command reroll in this shooting phase, so they will not be able to reroll one of those. And not that it matters since the Chaos Land Raider only has 2 wounds left, but they do d6 damage apiece, and it would have done 9 damage. Does it explode on a 6? And it will not. And so the squad of 3 Mutilators and Karn the Betrayer will disembark out in front. And now the final 2 wounds on the Chaos Land Raider will be removed, and the Chaos Land Raider is destroyed. And so because that was an emergency disembarkation, we need to roll a dice for each model that emergency disembarked, and rolls of 1 will have models removed, and 1-1 is rolled, and the World Eaters cannot use a command reroll. So 1 Mutilator will be killed off. This also means, of course, that the bolt guns and the Storm Bolter on the squad of Grey Hunters will go to waste. The Warlord Wolfguard Battle Leader will be unable to shoot because he advanced this turn. This squad of 3 aggressors will fire their Flamestorm gauntlets into the squad of 2 Mutilators. 6 d6 shots, getting 20 shots. This weapon automatically hits, so 20 hits. Strength 4 versus Toughness 4 means wounding on 4s, getting 9 wounds. No AP, so 9 2-up armor saves, passing 7 but failing 2. So 1 Mutilator will fall from 3 starting wounds down to 1 left. This squad of 2 Intercessors will fire their Stalker Bolt Rifles into the squad of 2 Mutilators. Beginning with the Stalker Bolt Rifle, which remained still, 1 shot hitting on a 3, getting a hit, and the one that moved hitting on a 4, which also hits. So 2 hits total. Strength 4 versus Toughness 4 means wounding on 4s, failing to wound. This Repulsor, the one that has not fired yet, will fire its 2 Crackstorm grenade launchers and 5 Fragstorm grenade launchers into the squad of 2 Mutilators. It will fire its 2 Iron Hail Heavy Stubbers into this squad of Chaos Cultists, and it will fire its Last Talon and Twin Last Cannon into the Khorne Lord of Skulls. Beginning with the 2 Iron Hail Heavy Stubbers, 6 shots total, hitting on 3s, getting 5 hits. Strength 4 versus Toughness 3 means wounding on 3s, rerolling 1s, getting 1 wound and 2 rerolls. And here's the rerolls. Getting 3 wounds total. Minus 1 AP, but plus 1 thanks to the crater, so 3 6-up armor saves, failing all 3. So 3 Chaos Cultists will go down, leaving 7 left alive in the squad. Next, for the attacks going into the Mutilators, beginning with the 2 Crackstorm grenade launchers, 1 shot apiece for 2 shots total, hitting on 3s, getting 1 hit. Strength 6 versus Toughness 4 means wounding on a 3, rerolling 1s, getting a wound. Minus 1 AP, so 1 3-up armor save, which passes. 5 Fragstorm grenade launchers at d6 shots apiece for 5 d6 shots total, getting 19 shots, hitting on 3s, getting 16 hits. Strength 4 versus Toughness 4 means wounding on 4s, rerolling 1s, getting 7 wounds and 3 rerolls. And here's the rerolls, getting 1 additional wound for 8 wounds total. No AP, so 8 2-up armor saves, passing 7 but failing 1. And so the wounded Mutilator will lose its last wound and be removed. leaving one model left alive in the squad. Now for the last Talon and twin last cannon into the Khorne Lord of Skulls, 4 shots total, hitting on 3s, getting 2 hits. Strength 9 versus Toughness 8 means wounding on 3s, rerolling 1s. And both fail to wound and no rerolls. This squad of 3 aggressors will fire their Flamestorm gauntlets into Karn the Betrayer because he is the closest enemy unit and also visible. 6d6 shots, getting 26 shots. This weapon automatically hits, so 26 hits. Strength 4 versus Toughness 4 means wounding on 4s, getting 14 wounds. No AP, so 14 3-up armor saves. Passing 8, but failing 6. So Karn the Betrayer will lose all 5 of his starting wounds and be killed off. The Primaris Wolf Priest will fire his Absolver Bolt pistol into the Demon Prince of Khorne with wings. Unfortunately, the Demon Prince is just over 6 inches away, so he cannot throw a crack grenade. 1 shot, hitting on a 3. And it fails to hit. Finally, this squad of 5 intercessors will fire their Stalker Bolt rifles into this squad of 7 Chaos Cultists. 5 shots, hitting on 3s, getting 4 hits. Strength 4 versus Toughness 3 means wounding on 3s, getting 2 wounds, and they are minus 2 AP, so even though the cultists have +1 from the crater, they will not get an armor save. So 2 more cultists will go down, leaving 5 left alive in the squad. Going into the assault phase, there are 4 charges to declare. First will be this squad of aggressors declaring a charge into the Lone Mutilator. Second will be this Primaris Wolf Priest declaring a charge into the Lone Mutilator. Third will be this squad of 3 aggressors charging into the Warlord Demon Prince of Khorne with wings. And the 4th charge will be from this Primaris Wolf Priest declaring a charge into the Warlord Demon Prince of Khorne with wings. And we will resolve them in the reverse order. So beginning with this Primaris Wolf Priest, who's just over 6 inches away. And we will have Overwatch from the Demon Prince and his Warp Bolter. 2 shots, hitting on 6s, rerolling 1s, failing to hit. So the Primaris Wolf Priest will need a 6-inch charge to make it in, and he rolls a 4. So the Space Wolves will use 1 command point, going from 6 down to 5, for a command reroll to reroll one of the 2s. And here's the reroll, now getting 8 inches. So 8 inches will be more than enough for the Primaris Wolf Priest to make it in. Now the squad of 3 aggressors will make their charge. And here's their charge distance. They will roll 7 inches. And 7 inches will be more than enough for them to make it in. Next, this Primaris Wolf Priest will make its charge. And here's the charge range, rolling 7 inches. And 7 inches will be more than enough to make it in. Finally, the aggressors will charge in. And here's the charge range, getting 4 inches. And luckily for the Space Wolves, this aggressor right here in the middle is just within 3 inches of that Mutilator, which means that after subtracting 2 from the charge range for going through a crater, a 2-inch charge is still just enough to get them barely within an inch. And the Space Wolves are going to use the stratagem Seeking a Saga for 1 command point, bringing them from 5 down to 4. Use the stratagem at the beginning of the fight phase. Choose a Space Wolves character from your army that is within 1 inch of an enemy unit with a greater power rating than that character. You can reroll failed wound rolls for attacks made by that character against the enemy unit, and this will be used on the Primaris Wolf Priest who is locked in combat with the Warlord Demon Prince of Khorne with wings. The Space Wolves will begin by having this squad of aggressors pile in, and now they will place their attacks onto the Warlord Demon Prince of Khorne with wings. Thanks to being Space Wolves, they get to add 1 to hit rolls on the turn in which they charged, which means they will hit normally with their Flame Strike gauntlets. So 7 attacks total, hitting on 3s, re-rolling thanks to the Primaris Wolf Priest, getting 6 hits and 1 reroll. And here's the reroll. Still failing to hit, so 6 hits total. Strength 8 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on 3s. And that is a very bad wound roll, getting only 2 wounds. Minus 3 AP, so 2 5-up invulnerable saves, passing 1 and failing 1. And it will do D3 damage, and it will do 2 damage. So the Warlord Demon Prince of Khorne with wings will fall from 8 starting wounds down to 6. And since the World Eaters only have 2 command points left, they will not use them on the stratagem counteroffensive. And so continuing with Space Wolf charging units, the next unit to fight will be the Primaris Wolf Priest, who will pile in up to 3 inches. 4 attacks with the Crozius Arcanum, hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s thanks to himself, getting all 4 hits. Strength 5 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on 5s, rerolling fails thanks to the stratagem, and getting all rerolls. And here's the rerolls, now getting 3 wounds. Minus 1 AP, so 3 4-up armor saves. Passing 1 and failing 2. And they are 2 damage piece, so the Warlord Demon Prince Corn with Wings will fall from 6 wounds down to 2 left. Next, this squad of aggressors will pile in up to 3 inches. 7 attacks, hitting on 3s, rerolling fails, getting 4 hits and 3 rerolls. And here's the rerolls, getting all 7 hits. Strength 8 versus Toughness 4 means wounding on 2s. Getting 5 wounds. Minus 3 AP, so 5 up and vulnerable saves. Failing all 5. And not that it matters, but they are D3 damage apiece. And that is 12 damage. So the final mutilator is killed off and removed. This Primaris Wolf Priest is no longer locked in combat, however, since he did charge this turn, he can still make pile-in and consolidation moves, and the closest enemy unit is the Warlord Demon Prince Corn with Wings, so he will make a 3-inch pile-in move as long as he ends up closer to the Demon Prince. And now he will make a 3-inch consolidation move. So now going over to World Eater units, the Warlord Demon Prince Corn with Wings will place all of his attacks onto the squad of aggressors. 8 attacks with his 2 sets of Malefic Talons, hitting on 2s, rerolling 1, 6s generate additional attacks, getting 6 hits and 2 rerolls, and here's the rerolls. Getting 2 additional hits for 8 hits total, and there are 2 additional attacks in there. Hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s for 10 hits total. Strength 7 versus Toughness 5 means wounding on 3s, rerolling 1s thanks to his Warlord trait. There were a lot of 2s in there, getting 4 wounds and 2 rerolls. And here's the rerolls, getting 1 additional wound for 5 wounds total. Minus 2 AP, so 5 up armor saves. Passing 3 of them. Only failing 2. And they are 2 damage piece, and the aggressors only have 2 wounds piece, so the 2 regular aggressors will go down, leaving only the aggressor pack leader alive in the squad. And now the Space Wolves will use the stratagem Honor the Chapter for 3 command points, bring them from 4 down to 1. Use this stratagem at the end of the fight phase, select a Space Wolves infantry, biker, or cavalry unit from your army. That unit can immediately fight for a second time. And this will be used on the Primaris Wolf Priest who used the stratagem Seeking the Saga, so he will fight for a second time against the Warlord Demon Prince Corn with Wings. 4 attacks with the Crozius Arcanum, hitting on 2s, rerolling thanks to himself, getting 3 hits and 1 reroll. And here's the reroll, getting a 4th hit. Strength 5 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on 5s, rerolling fails, thanks to the stratagem, getting 2 wounds and 2 rerolls. And here's the rerolls, failing to get more wounds, so 2 wounds total. Minus 1 AP, so 2 4-up armor saves, and failing both. And they are 2 damage piece, so there's no point in re-rolling just one of them, which means that the Warlord Demon Prince of Corn with Wings will lose its last 2 wounds and be killed off. And that is Slay the Warlord. And so now this Primaris Wolf Priest will consolidate up to 3 inches, and he is closer to the squad of 5 cultists on objective marker 5 than he is to the Corn Lord's Skulls. Going into the morale phase, this squad of aggressors lost 2 models this turn, however the aggressor pack leader has a leadership of 8, so it's impossible for them to fail. This squad of cultists lost 5 models this turn, and the cultist champion has a leadership of 6, so they will fail on a 2-up. And here's the morale check roll, and they roll a 3, so 2 more cultists will be killed off, leaving 3 models left alive in the squad. And so, taking a look at the tactical objective cards, the Space Wolves have now successfully completed Defend Objective 3 for 2 victory points. And the Space Wolves did not complete Secure Objective 6, but they are moving towards it, so they will hold on to it. And so, at the end of Space Wolves Turn 2, the score currently sits at 4 victory points for the Space Wolves, thanks to First Blood and Slay the Warlord, and 0 victory points for the World Eaters. Going into World Eaters Turn 2, a reminder that the World Eaters have 2 command points available, and the Space Wolves have 1 command point available. At the beginning of the turn, a reminder that the World Eaters are holding on to the tactical objective card, Defend Objective 5, and they are 1 turn into holding this objective marker. And so they drew 1 new tactical objective card, and they drew Area Denial. Score 1 victory point if there are no enemy models within 6 inches of the center of the battlefield at the end of your turn. If there are no enemy models within within 12 inches of the center of the battlefield at the end of your turn, score D3 victory points instead. And objective marker 5 is this one right here, currently being controlled by a squad of 3 Chaos Cultists. And unfortunately for the World Eaters, this Primaris Wolf Priest, this squad of aggressors, and this repulsor in the back over here are all within 6 inches of the center of the battlefield. And so going into the movement phase, this squad of 10 Chaos Cultists sitting on objective marker 2 will remain still. This squad of 3 Chaos Cultists sitting on objective marker 5 will also remain still. Finally, the Khorne Lord of Skulls will move up to 10 inches. Going into the shooting phase, the Khorne Lord of Skulls will fire everything that it can into this squad of 3 aggressors. And the World Eaters will begin by using the stratagem Demon Forge for 1 command point, bring them from 2 down to 1. Use this stratagem in your shooting or fight phase when a Chaos Space Marine Demon vehicle is chosen to attack. You can reroll failed hit and wound rolls for that model until the end of the phase. So beginning with the Ichor Cannon, D6 shots, getting 4 shots. Hitting on 3s, rerolling, getting all 4 hits. Strength 7 versus toughness 5 means wounding on 3s, getting 3 wounds and 1 reroll. And here's the reroll, getting all 4 wounds. Minus 4 AP, so the aggressors will not have an armor save. And they are D3 damage piece, so this will have to be done separately. Strike number 1 will do just 1 damage, which means strike number 2 will simply finish off an aggressor, which would have only done 1 damage anyways. Strike number 3 will do 2 damage, which will finish off another aggressor. And strike number 4 will do 3 damage. So all 3 aggressors will be wiped out and removed. This unfortunately means that the Skull Hurler will go to waste. This squad of 10 Chaos Cultists will not be able to fire because there are no enemy targets within 12 inches. This squad of 3 Chaos Cultists is within range, however, to fire 1 auto pistol into this Primaris Wolf Priest. 1 shot hitting on a 4, and it hits. Strength 3 versus toughness 4 means wounding on a 5, and it fails to wound. Going into the assault phase, the Khorne Lord of Skulls will declare a multi-charge onto the Grey Hunters and the Repulsor, with the primary target being the Grey Hunters. And so we will begin with the Overwatch. Beginning with the Overwatch, from the Grey Hunters, they have a Cyclone Missile Launcher, 1 Storm Bolter, and 5 bolt guns all in total. 1 of the bolt guns is at full range, 4 are at rapid fire range, and the Storm Bolter will be at rapid fire range. And because they're all the same profile, they can be fired together. So 9 shots total from the bolt guns, and 4 shots total from the Storm Bolter for 13 shots total, hitting on 6s, getting 3 hits. Strength 4 versus toughness 8 means wounding on 6s, rerolling 1s, failing to wound, and now 2 crack missiles from the Cyclone Missile Launcher hitting on 6s, getting 1 hit. Strength 8 versus toughness 8 means wounding on a 4, rerolling 1s, getting 1 wound. Minus 2 AP, so 1 5-up invulnerable save, which passes. Now for the Repulsor, and we will begin with the Last Talon and Twin Last Cannon firing together. 4 shots total, hitting on 6s. Whoa, and getting 3 hits. Strength 9 versus toughness 8 means wounding on 3s, rerolling 1s, getting 3 wounds. Minus 3 AP, so 3 5-up invulnerable saves, and failing all 3. And they are D6 damage apiece, and that is a total of 8 damage. But the Space Wolves will use their last command point, going from 1 down to 0, for command reroll to reroll the 1. And here's the reroll, and it becomes a 2, so 9 damage total. So the Khorne Lord of Skulls will fall from 28 starting wounds down to 19. 2 Iron Hail Heavy Stubbers, 6 shots total, hitting on 6s, getting 2 hits. Strength 4 versus toughness 8 means wounding on 6s, rerolling 1s, getting 1 wound. Minus 1 AP, so 1 4-up armor save, which fails. So the Khorne Lord of Skulls will fall from 19 wounds down to 18. 2 cracked storm grenade launchers with 1 shot apiece for 2 shots total, hitting on 6s, getting 1 hit. Strength 6 versus toughness 8 means wounding on a 5, rerolling 1s, and failing to wound. 5 frag storm grenade launchers with D6 shots apiece for 5 D6 shots total. And that's a pretty bad roll. Makes up for the good rolls earlier in this Overwatch, getting only 8 shots. Hitting on 6s, getting 2 hits. Strength 4 versus toughness 8 means wounding on 6s, rerolling 1s. Getting a fail and a reroll. And here's the reroll, still failing to wound. And here's the charge range. rolling 7 inches. And the Khorne Lord of Skulls has to subtract 2 inches for charging through a crater, which means he will actually only get a 5-inch charge, which will be enough to make it into combat with the Great Hunters. However, he has to subtract another 2 inches from the charge for charging the Repulsor, so he will not make the charge against the Repulsor. But the Khorne Lord of Skulls is now within an inch of the Great Hunters and staying over an inch away from the Repulsor, so he did make it into combat with someone. Going into the fight phase, the Khorne Lord of Skulls will begin by piling in up to 3 inches. And so the Khorne Lord of Skulls is now locked in combat with both the Great Hunters and the Repulsor. Thanks to the Great Hunters, the Khorne Lord of Skulls was able to get around the need to subtract an extra 2 inches from the charge against the Repulsor. And so he is now locked in combat with both and can place attacks onto both since he declared a charge against both. And once again, the World Eaters are going to use the stratagem Demon Forge for 1 command point, bringing them from 1 down to 0. Use this stratagem in your shooting or fight phase. When a Chaos Space Marine Demon vehicle is chosen to attack, you can reroll failed hit and wound rolls for that model until the end of the phase. And so the Khorne Lord of Skulls, since he is still at 18 wounds, has 4 attack space, and he will place all 4 attacks with the Smash profile from the Great Cleaver of Khorne onto the Repulsor. 4 attacks hitting on 3s, rerolling fails, thanks to the stratagem getting 1 hit and 3 rerolls. And here's the rerolls, getting 3 hits total. Strength 20 versus Toughness 8 means wounding on 2s, rerolling fails, getting 3 wounds. And they are -4 AP, so no armor save on the Repulsor, and they are 6 damage apiece for 18 damage total, which will fully destroy the Repulsor. Does it explode on a 6? And it will not. So this Repulsor is instantly blown up and removed. And unfortunately for the Khorne Lord of Skulls, these ruins are too close together for the Khorne Lord of Skulls to be able to move through them any further, so it will not consolidate. So now the squad of Grey Hunters will be chosen to attack, and they will pile in up to 3 inches. And only the Grey Hunter Pack Leader and the Wolfguard Terminator Pack Leader will be able to attack. So the Grey Hunter Pack Leader will have 3 attack space thanks to his Chainsword, and the Wolfguard Terminator Pack Leader will have 2 attack space with his fists, for 5 attacks total, hitting on 3s. That's pretty awful. Getting 1 hit. Strength 4 versus Toughness 8 means wounding on a 6, rerolling 1s, and failing to wound. And they will not consolidate in any closer because they're just going to fall out of combat next turn. Going into the morale phase, there are no morale checks to take. And so taking a look at the tactical objective cards, the World Eaters have now finished successfully defending Objective 5 for 2 victory points. However, they failed to complete area denial thanks to a Primaris Wolf Priest and the other Repulsor being within 6 inches of the center of the battlefield, but they will hold on to this objective card. At the end of World Eaters turn 2, the score currently sits at 2 victory points for the World Eaters and 4 victory points for the Space Wolves. Going into Space Wolves turn 3, a reminder that the Space Wolves have 0 command points available, and the World Eaters also have 0 command points available. At the beginning of the turn, a reminder that the Space Wolves held on to the tactical objective card Secure Objective 6 from the previous turn, and so they drew 2 new tactical objective cards, and they drew the Stuff of Sagas. Score 1 victory point if an enemy vehicle or monster is destroyed if the last wound suffered by that model was inflicted by a friendly Space Wolves character. Score D3 victory points instead. And Domination. Score D3 plus 3 victory points if you control every objective marker on the battlefield at the end of your turn. And objective marker 6 is this one right here, currently not being controlled by anyone. Going into the movement phase, this Primaris Wolf Priest will move up to 6 inches. This Aggressor Pack Leader will move up to 5 inches, and he will also declare an advance. And here's the advance roll, rolling 5 additional inches. So the Aggressor Pack Leader will move up to 10 inches. This Primaris Wolf Priest will move up to 6 inches. For this squad of 2 intercessors, the fully healthy one will remain still, and the wounded intercessor will move up to 6 inches. This squad of 5 intercessors sitting on objective marker 4 will remain still. This squad of Grey Hunters will fall back out of combat. This Repulsor will move up to 10 inches. And finally, the Warlord Wolfguard Battle Leader will move up to 6 inches. Going into the shooting phase, we will begin with the aggressor pack leader firing his Flamestorm gauntlets, since they are an assault weapon, into the squad of 3 cultists. 2 D6 shots, getting only 3 shots. This weapon automatically hits, so 3 hits. Strength 4 versus toughness 3 means wounding on 3s, getting 2 wounds. No AP, so 2 5-up armor saves, passing 1 and failing 1. And it's a 5-up armor save thanks to +1 from the crater, so 1 cultist will go down, leaving 2 left alive in the squad. This Primaris Wolf Priest will fire an Absolver Bolt Pistol into this squad of 2 Chaos Cultists. 1 shot hitting on a 3, and it hits. Strength 5 versus toughness 3 means wounding on a 3, and it fails to wound. This squad of 5 Intercessors will fire their Stalker Bolt Rifles into this squad of 2 Chaos Cultists. 5 shots hitting on 3s, getting 4 hits. Strength 4 versus toughness 3 means wounding on 3s, getting 3 wounds. And they are -2 AP, so no armor save even though the cultists are in a crater. So these final 2 cultists are killed off and removed. This squad of 2 Intercessors will fire their Stalker Bolt Rifles into the Khorne Lord of Skulls, beginning with the one that moved, so 1 shot hitting on a 4, and it fails to hit, and the one that remains still hitting on a 3, and that one will hit. So Strength 4 versus Toughness 8 means wounding on a 6, and it fails to wound. The squad of Grey Hunters fall back this turn, so they will be unable to fire. This Repulsor will fire its 2 Ironhail Heavy Stubbers into this squad of 10 Chaos Cultists, and it will fire its last Talon Twin Blast Cannon, 2 Crackstorm Grenade Launchers, and 5 Fragstorm Grenade Launchers into the Khorne Lord of Skulls. Beginning with the 2 Ironhail Heavy Stubbers, 6 shots total hitting on 3s, getting 5 hits. Strength 4 versus Toughness 3 means wounding on 3s, rerolling 1s, getting 3 wounds. -1 AP, but +1 thanks to the crater, so 3 6-up armor saves, failing all 3. So 3 Chaos Cultists will go down, leaving 7 left alive in the squad. Now for the various weapons into the Khorne Lord of Skulls, beginning with the last Talon and Twin Last Cannon together, 4 shots total hitting on 3s, getting 2 hits. Strength 9 versus Toughness 8 means wounding on 3s, rerolling 1s, and getting 2 wounds. -3 AP, so 2 5-up invulnerable saves, and failing both. And they are D6 damage apiece. And that is 9 damage. So the Khorne Lord of Skulls will fall from 18 wounds down to 9 left. 2 Crackstorm Grenade Launchers, 1 shot apiece for 2 shots total, hitting on 3s, getting 2 hits. Strength 6 versus Toughness 8 means wounding on 5s, rerolling 1s, getting 1 wound. -1 AP, so 1 4-up armor save, which fails. And it will do D3 damage, and it will do 2 damage. So the Khorne Lord of Skulls will fall from 9 wounds down to 7. 5 Fragstorm Grenade Launchers with D6 shots apiece for 5 D6 shots total, and getting 18 shots. Hitting on 3s, getting 10 hits. Strength 4 versus Toughness 8 means wounding on 6s, rerolling 1s, getting 3 wounds. No AP, so 3 3-up armor saves, passing 2 and failing 1. So the Khorne Lord of Skulls will fall from 7 wounds down to 6. The Warlord Wolfguard Battle Leader will fire his Storm Bolter in rapid fire range into the Khorne Lord of Skulls, who is down to 6 wounds. 4 shots hitting on 3s, getting 4 hits. Strength 4 versus Toughness 8 means wounding on 6s, rerolling 1s, failing to wound, getting 1 reroll. And here's the reroll, getting 1 wound. No AP, so 1 3-up armor save, which passes. And finally, this Primaris Wolf Priest will throw a crack grenade into the Khorne Lord of Skulls. 1 shot hitting on a 3, and it fails to hit. Going into the assault phase, there are no charges to declare, which means going into the fight phase, there are no fights to resolve. However, going into the morale phase, this squad of cultists lost 3 models this turn, and the cultist champion has a leadership of 6. And here's their morale check roll, and they roll a 1, so they pass and nothing happens. So taking a look at the tactical objective cards, thanks to the 1 Primaris Wolf Priest moving up the board, the Space Wolves did successfully complete Secure Objective 6 for 1 victory point. Since the Khorne Lord of Skulls survived, the Space Wolves failed to complete the Stuff of Sagas, and the Space Wolves obviously do not control every objective marker on the board, so they failed to complete Domination. And at this point, they will throw Domination away. And so at the end of Space Wolves turn 3, the score currently sits at 5 victory points for the Space Wolves and 2 victory points for the World Eaters. Going into World Eaters turn 3, a reminder that the World Eaters have 0 command points available, and the Space Wolves also have 0 command points available.
At the beginning of the turn, a reminder that the World Eaters are holding on to the tactical objective card Area Denial from the previous turn, and so they drew 2 new tactical objective cards, and they drew Secure Objective 3, score 1 victory point if you control Objective Marker 3 at the end of your turn, and Secure Objective 4, score 1 victory point if you control Objective Marker 4 at the end of your turn. And Objective Marker 3 is this one right here next to a squad of Intercessors, and Objective Marker 4 is this one right here next to a separate squad of Intercessors. Also at the beginning of the turn, the Khorne Lord of Skulls will regenerate 1 wound, going back up from 6 wounds to 7. And so going into the movement phase, this squad of Chaos Cultists will remain still. And finally, the Khorne Lord of Skulls, which has 7 wounds remaining, will move up to 7 inches. Going into the shooting phase, there are no enemy targets within 12 inches of the squad of cultists. They will not shoot. And the Khorne Lord of Skulls will fire its Ichor Cannon into the squad of Grey Hunters, and it will fire its Skull Hurler into the Repulsor. Beginning with the Ichor Cannon, D6 shots, getting 6 shots. Hitting on 3s, getting 4 hits. Strength 7 versus Toughness 4 means wounding on 3s, getting 3 wounds. And they are minus 4 AP, and they will all go on to regular Grey Hunters. And they are D3 damage apiece, but that won't matter because all of the regular Grey Hunters are 1 wound models. So 3 regular Grey Hunters will go down, leaving 3 models left alive in the squad. And now for D6 shots from the Skull Hurler, getting 3 shots. Hitting on 3s, getting 2 hits. Strength 9 versus Toughness 8 means wounding on 3s, getting 2 wounds. Minus 3 AP, so 2 6-up armor saves, passing 1 and failing 1. And it is D3 damage, and it will do 2 damage. So this Repulsor will fall from 16 starting wounds down to 14. Going into the assault phase, we have 1 charge to declare from the Khorne Lord of Skulls into the Primaris Wolf Priest. And we will begin with Overwatch. The Primaris Wolf Priest will throw a crack grenade, hitting on a 6, and it fails to hit. So here's the charge range, getting 3 inches. And luckily for the Khorne Lord of Skulls, he is just over an inch away because he is charging through a crater, so after subtracting 2 inches from charging through the crater, a 1-inch charge is just enough to get him within an inch. So going into the fight phase, we will begin with the Khorne Lord of Skulls placing his attacks onto the Primaris Wolf Priest. And the Khorne Lord of Skulls, since he has 7 wounds remaining, has 6 attack space, and he will use the Slash profile from the Great Cleaver of Khorne, which means he gets to make 3 hit rolls per attack. So 18 attacks total, hitting on 3s, getting 12 hits. Strength 8 versus Toughness 4 means wounding on 2s, getting 9 wounds. Minus 2 AP, so 9 4-up and vulnerable saves. Passing 5 and failing 4. And they are D3 damage apiece, and that is 11 damage. So the Primaris Wolf Priest will lose his 5 starting wounds and be removed. And the Khorne Lord of Skulls will not consolidate because he'd have to consolidate towards the Grey Hunters, who he would not be able to charge in the next turn because the ruins are too narrow for him to pass through. Going into the morale phase, this squad of Grey Hunters lost 3 models this turn, and the Wolfguard Terminator Pack Leader has a leadership of 8, so they could fail on a 6. And here's the morale check roll, rolling a 2, so they pass and nothing happens. And so taking a look at the tactical objective cards, the World Eaters did successfully complete Area Denial for 1 victory point thanks to killing off the Primaris Wolf Priest. However, the Grey Hunters are still within 12 inches, so they will not get D3 victory points. Then the World Eaters failed to complete Secure Objective 3, and they also failed to complete Secure Objective 4. And at this point, they will throw Secure Objective 4 away.
And so at the end of World Eaters turn 3, the score currently sits at 3 victory points for the World Eaters and 5 victory points for the Space Wolves. Going into Space Wolves turn 4, a reminder that the Space Wolves have 0 command points available, and the World Eaters also have 0 command points available.
At the beginning of the turn, a reminder that the Space Wolves held on to the tactical objective card, the Stuff of Sagas, from the previous turn, and so the Space Wolves drew 3 new tactical objective cards, and they drew Big Game Hunter, score 1 victory point if at least 1 enemy unit with a wounds characteristic of 10 or more was destroyed during this turn, if at least 1 enemy unit with a wounds characteristic of 20 or more was destroyed during during this turn, score D3 victory points instead. Secure Objective 2, score 1 victory point if you control Objective Marker 2 at the end of your turn, and defend Objective 6, score 2 victory points if you control Objective Marker 6 at the end of 2 consecutive turns. And Objective Marker 2 is this one right here, currently being controlled by a squad of 7 Chaos Cultists, and Objective Marker 6 is this one right here, currently being controlled by this Primaris Wolf Priest. Going into the movement phase, this Primaris Wolf Priest will move up to 6 inches. This Aggressor Pack Leader will move up to 5 inches and will also declare an advance. And here's the advance roll, rolling 4 additional inches. So the Aggressor Pack Leader will move up to 9 inches. This squad of 5 Intercessors will remain still. In this squad of Grey Hunters, the Wolfguard Terminator Pack Leader will remain still, but the regular Grey Hunter and the Grey Hunter Pack Leader will move up to 6 inches. This Repulsor will remain still. The Warlord Wolfguard Battle Leader will move up to 6 inches. And finally, this squad of 2 Intercessors will move up to 6 inches. Going into the shooting phase, we will begin with this squad of 2 Intercessors, which thanks to moving are now able to see and will fire their Stalker Bolt Rifles into this squad of 7 Chaos Cultists. 2 shots hitting on 4s, getting 1 hit. Strength 4 versus Toughness 3 means wounding on a 3, and it wounds, and it is minus 2 AP, so no armor save even though they get +1 from the crater. So 1 cultist will go down, leaving 6 left alive in the squad. This squad of Grey Hunters will have the Grey Hunter Pack Leader fire a Crack Grenade, the regular Grey Hunter will fire his bolt gun in rapid fire range, and the Wolfguard Terminator Pack Leader will fire his Storm Bolter in rapid fire range into the Khorne Lord of Skulls, and the Wolfguard Terminator Pack Leader will also fire his Cyclone Missile Launcher with 2 Crack Missiles into this squad of 6 Chaos Cultists. Beginning with the Cyclone Missile Launcher into the squad of Cultists, 2 shots hitting on 3s. Getting 1 hit. Strength 8 versus Toughness 3 means wounding on a 2 rerolling 1s, getting a wound, and it is minus 2 AP, so no armor save even though they get +1 from the crater. So 1 more cultist will go down, leaving 5 left alive in the squad. Now for the Crack Grenade into the Khorne Lord of Skulls, 1 shot hitting on a 3, and it hits. Strength 6 versus Toughness 8 means wounding on 5 rerolling 1s, getting a reroll, and here's the reroll, still failing to wound. 1 bolt gun and 1 storm bolter in rapid fire range means 6 shots total, hitting on 3s, getting 5 hits. Strength 4 versus Toughness 8 means wounding on 6s, rerolling 1s, getting 1 wound. No AP, so 1 3-up armor save, which fails. So the Khorne Lord of Skulls will fall from 7 wounds down to 6. This squad of 5 Intercessors will fire their Stalker Bolt Rifles into the Khorne Lord of Skulls. 5 shots hitting on 3s, getting 2 hits. Strength 4 versus Toughness 8 means wounding on 6s, failing to wound. This Repulsor will fire its 2 Iron Hail Heavy Stubbers into this squad of 5 Chaos Cultists, and it will fire its Last Talon Twin Last Cannon, 5 Frag Storm Grenade Launchers, and 2 Crack Storm Grenade Launchers into the Khorne Lord of Skulls. Beginning with the 2 Iron Hail Heavy Stubbers into the Cultists, 6 shots total, hitting on 3s, getting 5 hits. Strength 4 versus Toughness 3 means wounding on 3s, getting 4 wounds, minus 1 AP but +1 thanks to the crater, so 4 6-up armor saves, and failing all 4. So 4 cultists will go down, leaving only the cultist champion alive in the squad. Now for the Last Talon and Twin Last Cannon into the Khorne Lord of Skulls, 4 shots total, hitting on 3s. And that's a really bad hit roll, getting 1 hit. Strength 9 versus Toughness 8 means wounding on 3 rerolling 1s, getting 1 wound. Minus 3 AP, so 1 5-up invulnerable save, which fails. And it will do D6 damage, and it will do 5 damage. So the Khorne Lord of Skulls will fall from 6 wounds down to just 1 left. 2 Crack Storm Grenade Launchers with 1 shot apiece, 2 shots total, hitting on 3s, getting 2 hits. Strength 6 versus Toughness 8 means wounding on 5s, rerolling 1s, getting 1 wound. Minus 1 AP, so 1 4-up armor save, which fails. And not that it matters, but it does D3 damage, and it will only do 1 damage, which will remove the final wound from the Khorne Lord of Skulls. And does it explode on a 6? And it will not. So the Khorne Lord of Skulls is killed off and removed. And the 5 Frag Storm Grenade Launchers will go to waste. So going into the Assault phase, there are no charges to declare, which means going into the Fight phase, there are no fights to resolve. And going into the Morale phase, this squad of Chaos Cultists lost 6 models this turn, and the Cultist Champion only has a leadership of 6, which means they will automatically fail, and no matter what they rolled, the squad would be wiped out. So this cultist champion will be removed. And that will mean that the World Eaters are tabled. And so taking a look at the tactical objective cards, the Space Wolves did successfully complete the Stuff of Sagas for 1 victory point. They did also successfully complete Big Game Hunter, and because the Khorne Lord of Skulls had at least 20 wounds, they will score D3 victory points. And here's the D3 roll, and they will roll 2 victory points. The Space Wolves failed to complete Secure Objective 2, but they are now 1 turn into defending Objective 6. And not that it matters, but at this point they will throw Secure Objective 2 away. And so the Space Wolves will secure a major victory over the World Eaters through tabling the World Eaters in Space Wolves turn 4, which will mean, now that the game is over, that the Space Wolves will achieve Line Breaker, and so we will have a final score of 9 victory points for the Space Wolves and 3 victory points for the World Eaters. And so now that the game is over, I can go over 1 or 2 of my final thoughts on this particular game. And there's not a whole lot to talk about since the World Eaters were tabled, which means I don't have to give a reason for concession. I will say I was impressed with how the Space Wolves handled themselves in this game. There were some bad dice rolls, but they also had a good share of good dice rolls, especially when considering the Overwatch against the Khorne Lord of Skulls by the Repulsor. The fact that it got as many hits as it did is quite impressive and not very statistical. Minor spoiler alert, compared to how they handled the Khorne Lord of Skulls in their previous matchup, the Space Wolves did much better this time. I will say after the previous game, I was worried for the Space Wolves going into this one, but the Space Wolves surprisingly proved me wrong, and the World Eaters were a major disappointment this time. After the last battle, I thought the World Eaters were just going to have a second bulldozing of the Space Wolves and be done with it. But no, the Space Wolves held their own, they held objective markers, they achieved tactical objective cards, and so with how this series ended up turning out, I'm not sure what this means for both armies going into their last 2 matchups. The World Eaters will of course face the Death Guard next, and the Space Wolves will face the Tau, and those are both going to be very difficult series. I think the Space Wolves were very lucky that they were able to set up the bulk of their forces around this set of ruins right here, which of course meant that they had some natural choke points which made it impossible for the Khorne Lord of Skulls to be able to move further into Space Wolves territory and to try to engage the Repulsors and other Space Wolves units further. Because had that Khorne Lord of Skulls been able to move in further and potentially try to engage the second Repulsor in close combat, I think we might have had a different outcome. Although at that point in the battle, the fact that the World Eaters only had a couple units left on the table meant they were most likely going to lose at that point regardless. But unfortunately for the World Eaters, it did not turn out well for them, and it did turn out well for the Space Wolves, and that's really about all that I have to say for this particular match. So thank you so much for watching, I really hope you enjoyed, and stay tuned for the next one.